Hello, hello. Welcome to another Techthusiasm Live podcast, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, back from the awesome weekend that was known as Audio Advice Live. So we'll let folks filter in here for a little while. I figured tonight I'll kind of do a little bit of a show recap, share a bunch of the photos, some of the videos that I had taken, some of the reflections, some of the learning, some of the fun, and all of that. So let me give credit where credit is due. This was a really great event. I appreciate the folks at Audio Advice inviting me to come and basically be there. I went last year as a attendee, paid my whole way, attended like anybody else. And to be quite honest, going there last year was probably one of the best AV experiences that I ever had, and was certainly a nitro shot in the arm for the channel and all of the activity around it. I got to meet and mingle with so many people, brands, and so on. I was invited back. So pretty awesome. I've got it here, my first official press pass for a show, hanging right on the desk, where I'll be keeping that. One big step for Techthusiasm, and many more to come. So I will be not too shy to say that if you like the content that we're talking about here tonight, I did go about $750 out of pocket to attend this event when you factor the airfare, transfers, food, and all of that. So super chat, super thanks, and all of those, as always, are greatly appreciated, and will come right back through to add value, more value to the channel. So I'm curious if folks have any questions, anything that you'd like me to comment on about the show in specific, as I'm just kind of chatting. We'll go for a little while here, either until I'm done talking, you're done listening to me, or you're done talking to me and there's nothing else really that you want to hear about. So we'll talk about Audio Advice Live. I can also touch on a few other things that are going on. I want to continue This Week in Kaleidescape. We'll do that a little bit later. I did figure some more stuff out with the Control 4 Halo touch remote, and some other things. So it's been a good week. So we're back home. All the family vacations, all the planned family vacations are over for the year. So I'm excited to have some traveling stability, get back to the gym, and all of those things. So how's everybody doing? Let me know if you were at the show. Sound off. I already see one name there. A new friend, basically, that I made. A couple of shout outs. Welcome, Julius, OG Techthusiast. Rob, another one. Welcome, my friend. And My Home Theater. He's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. We actually had the pleasure of having lunch together. So again, I'll chat all about kind of the weekend, how it went, the format, and more as we go through. And overall, I've said this in other videos, going back now quite a while on the channel. One of the most profound effects that doing this whole thing, Techthusiasm, the engagement, getting out, has like transformed my enjoyment of this whole home theater hobby. So I would say that I probably, like many of you, enjoyed this hobby, at least to the level that I executed at, kind of independently. I have friends that are into this stuff as well. I have some friends that have some setups and some TVs and some speakers and things. But until really getting out, I didn't really know anybody else that owned a theater until getting out at events like this and activities like this. It really, having a community around enjoying this hobby, getting out, meeting people, making friends, experiencing things, and all of that, it really just it transforms the whole thing. And so whether you may look in your local area to find fellow folks, whether that's Facebook groups, ABS forum has a lot of different regions where different enthusiast groups discuss and plan their meetups and all of that stuff. Michigan has it as well, and I'm part of that. I just actually was invited also to a Michigan Audiophiles Facebook group. But so get out there, get with the community, go experience, make some friends. M-Wave as well. Unfortunately, I missed M-Wave this year. We'll see what happens next year. But I feel like more stuff, all of these events, they're only 2 years old. The inaugural M-Wave was last year. The inaugural Audio Advice Live was just last year. They're both on their second years. They were like exceptional. Both of them had really, really great results and such for their second coming. So I feel like our hobby space, this niche is alive in a way that it hasn't been alive before. So especially kind of for all of us, end user, um, consumer, DIY-ish type of folks. So I don't think it's ever there. Maybe never has been a better time to enjoy this hobby and get out in it. So I was there. I was there the whole weekend. I flew out like Wednesday afternoon and arrived uh, just in time, literally just in time for the start of all of the activities. There was a 6 o'clock kind of press event where Monitor Audio was announcing and kind of sharing to everybody in a special closed door session their hyphen speaker. I'll start with this and kind of roll back through the show because this was kind of go a little bit sequentially here. So what I want to do is put up a little bit of a share, and then hopefully I can mute the sound. I don't want any of the sounds to play just for the takedowns. But yeah, these speakers were pretty interesting. I think 100, I'm going to forget actually, 50 grand a piece, 100,000 a pair or so, hooked up to some pretty expensive gear. This was, and all the friends started to show up for this as well. A bunch of the Audio Advice folks were there. Michael was there, and Don and Gene and all of the other creators. So I'll talk about meeting up with those folks as well. But this is probably one of the most unique speakers that I've ever had the pleasure of seeing and listening to. I think they sounded great. And there's kind of their own like marvel of engineering there. So that was really Wednesday, a relatively short event. And then a couple of us went and grabbed dinner. I got a chance to hang out with Michael Youthman that night. Ryan, his collaborator for M-Wave and their Sunday night podcast and all of that stuff. Really had actually a chance to kind of have some solo time with Ryan for a little while. So we hung out, got to know each other. That was really awesome. We started the cookie trend. We ordered up insomnia cookies, man. If you've got an insomnia cookies in your area and you want some really good cookies, I should probably ask them for an endorsement. We ordered insomnia cookies pretty much every night or every night of the show. And we were hanging out in the after parties and all of that. So all in all, a bit of a lower key Wednesday night, and then Thursday basically hit the ground, or Friday, sorry. I got my days wrong. That was Thursday. Everything I said for Wednesday, I meant to say Thursday. And then Friday, the show actually started. So this isn't actually the map, but the way the show is laid out, basically, we kind of got the big lobby of the hotel. It's at the Sheraton in downtown Raleigh. I had the pleasure of staying right on site there, so it was very easy to access all the stuff, basically. And from the lowest floor to the atrium level to like kind of, it's not necessarily a mezzanine, but a third floor that kind of ramped up to another section with these big ballrooms, just loaded with stuff, loaded with home theaters, setups and all of that. And then further up in the hotel, technically, or specifically, I think it was 14, 15, and 16, floors 14, 15, and 16. You come off the elevator, and for the bulk of the hallway, left and right, all of what were normally would have been like hotel rooms were converted into smaller brand rooms. And so most of those had maybe say 6 to 10 chairs or so. Some of them were a little bit bigger. There were a couple suites that were converted and a couple of like adjoining rooms as well. Specifically, like the Sonus Farber space was very large with a suite and connected to another room beside it. Kef was a similar setup. They had a big open area and then a gaming section over on one side, and then another section adjoining through. So some of it's a little bit of a tight fit. You're going through the hallways, you're kind of navigating your way in and out. Theater spaces could fit a lot more people. I'd say a lot of the theater spaces had like 3 rows of seating, maybe 6 or so, or even more chairs wide. And so they did it really nice. A lot of these spaces, they were playing demos, just constantly turning over demos. They would open the doors, people would kind of file in, take some seats. The brand rep or whoever may be there, kind of in charge of the room, would talk about what was in there. They'd run demos, they'd take requests, they'd answer questions, they'd have some dialogue, and then kind of those people would shuffle out and another wave would shuffle in. They did the theaters a little more structured, I would say, this year as well, which I thought was very nice. Open the door, fill up the room, close the door, do the spiel, finish it up, open the door, let those people out, let the next group in. And supplementing all this, there was like a headphone zone, there was some other gaming areas, and just actually far too much stuff to even do across the entirety of 3 days. If you look at this little flyer here, right, this is all of the brands represented essentially in alphabetical order and where you would find them. So I will say right off the bat, I had no opportunity to visit every single one of these. Quite honestly, I probably ended up making it physically into maybe a third of the rooms. I definitely made it to all of the theaters, but where I fell short was getting into all of the rooms in the upstairs kind of upper floors. There just wasn't time factoring in, let alone trying to get a bite to eat, walking around the show and meeting folks, stopping to talk, and all of that. And then kind of peppered in as well. I think there was one on Friday, a couple on Saturday, and one on Sunday were like hour-long panel sessions. One about audio, one about home theater, one about vinyl. I only ended up making it to 2 of the panel sessions. The Friday one about audio systems, and then the one that was most kind of dear to me, I would say, and the things that I talk about is the future of home theater video panel. And I would have loved to have sat on that one. Kaleidescape was up there, MadVR, Patrick from JVC, Stewart Film Screen, and so on, talking, and Michael as well, who did a great job talking about, a lot of talk about Kaleidescape, a lot of talk about like the future of where we're going to get content from, video sources and processing and all of that. So that's definitely, I like audio too, of course, and I have all the setups and stuff for it. But as we know on the channel here, I tend to probably actually bias my conversation a little more on the video side, covering Kaleidescape and all of that. So it was just fantastic. Again, meeting folks. I literally had moments where somebody would stop me and say, "Hey, love your channel, etc." And we just chatted for like 45 minutes, talking about whatever kind of the whole way. So I did a really bad job, actually. I should have been asking folks if they would mind taking a picture with me. I would have loved to have all the photos from the folks that stopped me, and I did a really bad job as well, thinking to like take pictures of with the audio advice folks that I befriended, and of course with all the other YouTube creators that were there. I'm probably going to forget some folks, but Cody, home theater hobbyist, Michael, Youthman, of course, Gene and Don from Audioholics were there. Shane from Shane Lee, Spare Change was there. Ike from Easy HT Tech, my new friend that's here on the channel here, My Home Theater, Chris. Who else am I forgetting? Chana, Techno Dad was there. Brad, home theater gamer. So it was phenomenal because last year at the show, actually, I had met a few folks. I got to meet Michael in person for the first time. Cody and Gene was there as well. I didn't really get much of a chance to talk with Gene last year or this year independently, but there was a lot more of us here. They really invited us, and kind of the cool thing about it was they didn't really put any requirements on us. It was kind of like, come to the show and check it out and do your thing, right? Film, report, post, do whatever you want to do. And I think that speaks to the kind of the overall character of the company, of just wanting to like collaborate and have some fun and enjoy all this hobby and stuff together. And so what I've done so far is I have made some of the videos I'll show here tonight. I have put them up on the channel for now. I just put them up as members only. They are up and they're just completely raw, kind of uncut form with the audio and stuff as well, though. So in the instances where I have video of speakers, it did, I was using my phone, it did capture the audio of those speakers. I got nicked for a couple of course, I was expecting a couple of content compliance copyright things, but I didn't monetize any of them. So if you watch any of the videos as a channel member, I didn't inject any ads in those. I'll probably cut some of them together into some produced content, but by and large, I kind of wanted to go through some of it tonight. So a couple other cool things. Let me get the screen share back up here, and we'll kind of go through some of the rooms. So I was trying to keep it solid the whole weekend there. I picked up some new Techthusiasm merchandise. I bought my cool black polos. Actually, I got my hat and some other stuff had come in since I'd been home, so that was pretty fun. So I was repping hard, trying to make it visible, and Techthusiasm was there. So a couple cool things that I really liked right off the bat. Wow, there they are. There she is. Focal Grand Utopia. And if I could snap my fingers and spend the many hundreds of thousands of dollars to just put any speaker in a living room, yeah, this would be it. That thing was it was massive, tall, like I think they were like a few hundred pounds or more, 500 pounds or something like that. These speakers were just insane. So these were playing in the lobby. I stood there for quite a while listening to them, and then also had an opportunity to get to know some of the Focal reps more, which is great. Of course, everybody knows Focal is a brand that I really enjoy. They had all the new name stuff as well. Here, the new like 300 models were driving all of these. I haven't really looked at those too much in detail yet, but I plan to at some point. So do a little, make sure to mute this. I hope everybody should still be able to hear me. So this is kind of what I did around a lot of the shows. I was going in spaces and in and out of rooms, kind of just do a little bit of the sweeping B-roll. And again, figured that we would be talking about it. So Focal was at the show pretty big, actually. About the only thing they didn't really have there was the speakers that I have, the 1000 series. I would have loved for one of the upstairs rooms or something to have had a pair of 1000 in-wall Utopias, even perhaps right next to a pair of the IWLCR6s to compare and contrast those, which is really, I think, one of the main values of going to a show like this is just the fact that you can see and hear so much stuff side by side, go from one to the other and back again, if you're really trying to compare something. So, community aside and enjoying the hobby space and all of that stuff, man, if you're shopping these kinds of things, any of this type of gear, you're looking at spending some big money on a HiFi setup, a home theater setup, spending the money to go to a show like this and being able to just demo it all out is like just fantastic. Because you don't really get the audio device themselves, right, have a pretty sizable showroom and whatnot, but it's still like so many models, so many brands, and the ability to kind of compare and contrast it all. I'll roll through some comments again here in just a second. So again, the Focals were in the main lobby. The other thing that was in the lobby was a little Bowers setup kind of across the hallway. There's the $100,000 Nautilus speaker, and then the new edition of their 800 series, which were also available in another room upstairs. Just being in the presence of some of this stuff is neat, right, in and of itself. So I've got some other pictures and roll from the 800 room. But speaking of Focal, so they didn't have the thousands there, but they had the Grand Utopias. They had a Sopra, Thiva, and Vestia all in another room. And then one of the big, probably one of the most premium theater spaces at the show was built with Focal speakers as well. It was basically a full Atmos system with Cantas and then the crazy Utopia Center. Pretty wild. Kaleidescape really just kind of had a booth. So when you came up to that third floor through or past like the reception area, or past the big ballroom area, you walked across, you go up this ramp, and then there were a variety of basically tabletop type setups, and then several of the theater spaces were kind of over in that area. But the tabletops were kind of like Trinoff, Kaleidescape, Mad VR, and some of these like real premium home theater devices were kind of put together with just the single tables. And so you might ask, like, well, why, right? Why give such a simple setup to like such a premium part or element of the whole thing? And it's simply really just based on the fact that these devices were available to demo in action and see being used in action through the whole show. So I think Kaleidescape was in every theater except for one that I recall. And it was even in some of the individual rooms upstairs, like Anthem, the Anthem Paradigm little room where they had some founders speakers, and they were just running things off of MRX receiver. They were actually using Kaleidescape, and which makes a lot of sense because they were playing like concert material with a TV and a video display set up, and so you want to play, you want to easily be able to play a bunch of lossless, high fidelity concert material. Well, boom, right? Play it off the Kaleidescape. So same thing with Mad VR. Mad VR was in use in a number of the theaters. Trinoff was in use in a number of the theaters. So here was the Mad VR setup there. Kind of a bad picture there, but there's the new one, the Envy Extreme, the Mark II. This thing looks nice. It is such a step up, I think, in terms of like build quality, fit and finish, and all that. So I was able to talk to the folks. I actually spent quite a while interacting throughout the weekend with the Mad VR folks, Ryan and Rick. Thanks to Youthman for kind of inviting me along to go out to dinner and hang out and stuff. So we'll see. Many relationships were forged for Techthusiasm at Audio Advice Live 2023, and we'll see what comes of that. But they were demoing, of course. They kind of have the tone mapping demo. I've seen that before, but they were doing the motion AI processing demo as well, which is really interesting to see, quite honestly. So we'll see. We'll see what comes next with regards about video processing and Mad VR and all that sort of stuff. I just want to hit a couple comments here. Tim asking, what do you think of the Sony ES receiver room? That's the one I was going to show off next. I'll talk about that one in just a second. Julius, how do you compare the SVS speaker sound quality to your Frocals? I'll get to that one in a little bit as well. I did go to the SVS room. That was one of the ones upstairs that I sat in actually for quite a while and listened to a bunch of their demos. They had I forget what specifically the channel count was, but it was 5 or 7.2.2, I believe it was, with the prime elevations up above. And I actually had a community channel member, a friend of the channel, somebody that I had been kind of consulting with actually and giving some advice. He's at the forefront basically of setting up a pretty high dollar theater setup. He's putting some big money into a system with the stuff that he's buying. And so we got to meet person to person at the show. We talked for a good while and we kind of crossed paths a few different times in a few different rooms. And one of the times he mentioned, he's like, man, he's like, that SVS room kicked butt. He's like, that was awesome. And he's looking at much more expensive, right? Spending much more money, and was very impressed by the performance of the SVS setup. I'm sure the small room certainly helped it, but I don't want to take anything away. They rocked that room. And I had a really good hallway conversation with some of the folks from SVS as well. So if there's something that you might want to see, me try out from SVS, let me know. They were one of the companies that was very receptive, very excited about like making another collaboration, partner and such. So again, many great conversations this past weekend. Chintabit saying, don't update your G2 yet because I get the H2 error messages sometimes. I think I'm up to date on the latest one. It did an update. Actually, Sunday night, I turned it on and it did an update. No major problems yet, but honestly, I haven't even really touched the television much at all this week. I was wiped out when I got home. My wife was too. She was running like wild solo. Kid had a soccer tournament Sunday, 4 games and all the stuff that she was doing. And most of the days at this show, honestly, too, like I had bought a handful of like protein bars at the airport. Plum Market, if you're traveling through Michigan, Plum Market, they have some of the like best snacks and stuff. So whenever I fly anywhere out of Detroit, out of Metro Airport, I always go to Plum and I load up my bag with bars for the trip. They're crazy, stupid expensive at the airport, but they're some of the like best protein bars I think I've ever had. Um, so I had those stashed away in my backpack, and I had those with me. So I got up in the morning in the room and I ate that kind of for breakfast, made some coffee in the room, and pretty much every day of the show, I didn't end up eating again until somewhere between like probably 2 and 4 o'clock. There was one day actually where I had basically lunch at 4 and like dinner at 6:30, just because there was so much to do, and I didn't even feel hungry. Like my mind, attention, focus, all of that was just on being out and doing stuff. Pretty wild. Sammy, hey Sammy, welcome, welcome. Rob James, yeah, loves insomnia. Yeah, snickerdoodle. So we ordered snickerdoodles and we ordered the chocolate chips. I was a big fan of the chocolate chips. I kind of resisted the snickerdoodle at first until the one night all the chocolate chips went. And if I wanted to have cookies, I had to eat the snickerdoodles, and they were quite good. They have gluten-free cookies as well. There's actually two insomnia cookies in the Detroit area. They don't deliver to me where I live, but they're here. They're in the area. Welcome, welcome. 876 Oprah Winfrey. Cherubin liked the monitor audio room home theater demo. So you liked it. You were there. Did we? I'm trying to remember everybody that I was able to see at the show. Even Evan from Audio Vice is awesome. He hosted me and my children. Brad home theater. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the camaraderie of the show and everybody there is just phenomenal. Let's start over. We got to start over. All right. Rob saying, what was Kscape? Is that Kscape on the table? Yeah, that was actually an older model. So I think for the demos and the shows and stuff like that, they they have the Strato S's. Quite honestly, from a like show perspective, if the Strato S is a preferable demo unit, which kind of it's a little bit of a dichotomy, I suppose, because you probably want, right, if people are going to come see your product, you would want them seeing the one that they would be buying. But for a simplicity perspective, having the player and a hard drive inside of it in one um, single unit that doesn't have to have the two pieces talking to each other over a network. I'm sure that Kaleidescape has a closet full of these things for events like this and Cedia and so on. Because if you could imagine, if you had to take a Strato player and a Terra server and like network them together in a show booth or at a table, you got to have like a local network. You'd have to have like a DHCP server kind of running, or probably even the way this whole thing was so spread out, it's not like they could have just put Terras on like the hotel network and then use Stratos to play them. I doubt that would have held up. So yeah, by and large, most of the demos had Strato S's. So I guess it is what it is. They did have the new remote. I've got some later pictures about that. I'll talk about that in a moment. I did have some detailed conversations with the folks that were there from Kaleidescape and as well. I can't divulge anything, but suffice to say, I'm hearing some interesting rumors. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for Kaleidescape news. Hopefully, hot topic news. Once we get to Cedia and even potentially through the remainder of the year into next year. I'm very, very excited about what I am hearing. Okay, so next theater here. This was the Sony Kef room in kind of the quad of the big ballroom areas in the back. They had all their stuff kind of set out. All the Sony projectors lined up there. Yeah, take your pick. Which one do you want? Pretty cool. And then they had all the receivers as well. Same kind of thing. Demo table, all the new ES receivers lined up there. And then their theater space was kind of running all of the stuff with a Kef speaker setup. So you can kind of see the front channel there. I don't remember which screen that was. Seymour was there. Stewart was there. There were some screen innovation screens as well. So you can see how many people. Whoops! Oh, I just wanted to pause. You can see how many people some of these theater spaces were kind of filling up. They actually had the theater chairs in the front here. I'll talk more about these. These are the row one Cavalieris. Very, very nice and a very interesting and kind of unique design. So you can see they were using towers in this case for the surrounds, the side surrounds, and the rear surrounds there. One of the cool things about these ballrooms is that they actually let them, the hotel, install overhead speakers like into the drop ceiling panels. So in a bunch of these theaters, and some of the theaters, they had posts and they had like the Atmos immersive channels like up on posts shooting kind of down like heights would be. Um, but in some of them, they literally, cut into the ceiling panels, tiles. And so the Atmos effect was in full force. There's that little rack there on the left. I think if I recall correctly, this was a Mad VR. There's a Sony ES receiver there, and then the Kaleidescape up on top. These guys are looking real comfortable in those seats. On the last day, I was trying to get into this room to get some better pictures and shoot these seats. And I swear, this guy and his wife, I think they watched the whole Hans Zimmer concert. I was joking with the Kef folks. I was coming in. Oh, still here. Walk away. Go do something else for a while. Come on back. Nope, they're still there. Attendance was, I would say, lighter on the Sunday, and so it's not like they were being a problem or anything. But man, I just wanted to shoot the seats, and they watched a pretty significant portion of that whole concert. It was pretty funny. And then we got the Sony projector back there. So how did this one sound? I honestly, I don't think I would fault really anything that I heard at the show. I think to me, maybe I'm a little Pollyanna or whatnot, but like it's all good. It's all good. I don't think anything really failed, and nothing that I heard anyway was really problematic. And quite honestly, like some of these theater spaces, this one included, as they were basic. Here's the better stack. So there's the Mad VR on the bottom, the Sony ES receiver. We're talking about running in this space 246 tower speakers, and then that center channel and the Atmos overheads on the receiver in a big. You can look at the volume of this room, right? Again, it was a big volume room. Um, it kept up. Everything kept up. Even the rooms again that were being driven with receivers could play loud. The pairings were good. The design, the matchups was good. One of the other things that they did that I appreciate, or I think people actually asked for, and Scott, the Audio Advice CEO, had mentioned, is like last year, it was a little hard for people to actually like maybe buy the gear, and so this time, by request, they actually had QR codes. So you would go into a room, you could scan it, and basically go to the Audio Advice webpage and get a listing of like what was in the room. And hey, if you really wanted to, you could buy it right there. Although you should have gone to Techthusiasm and clicked on an Audio Advice affiliate referral link first, and then gone ahead and buy it. But you can see in this picture as well, right? That poster on the upper left here, little hard to see, maybe, but speakers, electronics. It was awesome being able to go in these spaces and see very publicly, what's here, what does it cost, what's the breakdown of these rooms, and for people, that were trying to learn and understand and shop, basically, very, very helpful and whatnot to them. So Kef, there's a lot of Kef around the show. The blades were in the lobby, the big blades were in the lobby, and they had some really cool stuff as well. I didn't actually get a ton of Kef speaker demo time. I did demo in this theater for a little while, but I didn't really get much other opportunity to put some listening time on other Kef speakers, although I was in the Kef space for some other things. Here's another one of the theater rooms. There's Mad VR. This had a Kaleidescape, Sony projector in here as well. This was the Bowers and Wilkins room. I forget the model numbers of these, but This again was a full Atmos home theater. I don't remember specifically what was driving this one, but so there, again, there was some presentation. Oh no, this room didn't have a Kaleidescape. This is like the one theater they didn't have a K. Maybe they ran out of them. So they were playing, whether that's an NVIDIA Shield. Basically, they were playing MKBs and stuff. But that was an interesting one. So yeah, actually not a whole lot to say about that one. I kind of went in there, I kind of shot it, demoed a little bit, and kind of moved on. Another theater space here. So this was the Definitive Technology one, Kaleidescape in here. So here's an idea of like what they were doing when they didn't put the speakers up in the ceiling. They put them up on these posts and whatnot. So there was a pretty high channel count in this room. And 4 subwoofers for these big Definitive Technology subs. This room was also being ran off of a receiver. In this case, the Denon. So actually, Cherubin's saying there. Yeah, Marantz. Okay, so Marantz. In the B&W room, it was the Marantz. In this room, it was the Denon, the AVR AH1. So this is the new big Denon receiver. And man, again, like the amount of audio impact delivered by these speakers on just a receiver with all of these channels and all that stuff, it's just impressive. Like if, we spend a lot in this hobby sometimes because we can, and it's fun. It's fun buying more exclusive, generally higher performance. And there definitely is a case of, in many ways, you get what you pay for in some way or another. But there's also diminishing returns. And again, this hobby can be enjoyed at all kinds of different levels and price points. So, and like we should fault, nobody for enjoying this hobby at whatever level they're able to execute it at. So there's the Kaleidescape Sony projector. Pretty much all the theaters, or most of the theaters, had the Sony projectors, except specifically, of course, the JVC room. And then there was a Barco in another room. We'll get to that one in just a second. And then there was a GTZ 380 as well. So the big guns were there from Sony also. Let's hit a couple comments. Frankie Kenneth, yep, great to meet you in person. So we had a lot of time to chat. Was able to get lunch together and all that stuff. Unfortunately, this guy missed it. He's one of the ones that I was able to meet up with last year. We had a good time. He was supposed to be there, but unfortunately, circumstances didn't work out. So, hopefully, I'm sure we'll see each other again sometime, Aaron, for sure. Julius, do you remember what amp SVS we're using? I don't, but I'm sure I've got it in the photos to come here, so we'll get to it. We'll get to it as we go. Definitive, yeah. So the Definitive room was the Denon. The B&W room was the Marantz. Pretty awesome stuff. Gosh, hey, my friend, co-worker, colleague here now. Your multiple community posts made it seem like you had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was. Again, like I just can't say enough. Like if you, especially if you really enjoy this hobby, kind of in solo isolation, like many of us do or had in the past, try to get yourself here. Try to get yourself to M-Wave next year. I think you'll find it to be well worth it. All right, so let's see, next room. So I have to say, of course, I'm a little biased. Vocal room, man, those Cantas. I think those Cantas just look fantastic, let alone sound fantastic. So this was a whole multi-channel Canta tower home theater system. I forget the count in here as well, but it was high. We had the fronts. We had there's that Utopia Center. God, that thing is massive. Yes, that is Mr. Techno Dad, Mr. Chana, sitting down in front there. I'll talk about a special opportunity I had actually in this room with him as well. So there were fronts, wides, surrounds, and all of that. There were only two, I think just the two little subwoofers in here, the little Focal subs. You can see them in the corner there, front left corner, front right corner. But man, this room was packing. So Arco. This thing was so bright, just massively bright. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars, whatever. Almost these projectors can get well into the six figures or multiple six figures. But yeah, I mean, it needs a hush box, it needs a hush room, and so on. But bright, the word of the day is bright. I didn't get a really good picture actually of the setup. I kind of turned around and grabbed it, but what we're looking at here is a combination ultimately of Storm Audio, and I'm not sure what the amps were. Kaleidescape, of course, in this room, and then actually a Lumigen. This wasn't a Mad VR space. Jim from Lumigen was there. There's actually two Lumigens stacked up. If you're going to do a hardware demo, you always have redundancy. I actually asked about them, like, why'd you bring two? I figured one was a backup just in case. So they did the whole kind of Dirac Storm Audio calibration in here. Screen Innovation screen which was specifically a darker screen and ambient light rejecting version, and it had kind of all the whiz bang setup with regards to being scope, aspect ratio, and the Barcro like native aspect ratio also being wider screen, and the Lumigen kind of doing the work to have it all match up. There's those row one Cavalieris again in leather. In this room, they were in cloth in the Sony room. So I spent a while in this room, revisited it more than a few times. Pretty sweet. A couple comments. So Frankie's saying his favorite HT room was the monitor audio. Vocal was second. I think I got pictures of the monitor audio one, but I didn't really get a whole lot of time in that one. Impressed by Definitive Technology. Yeah, I mean the work these receivers were doing was solid all around. Filippo 08, interesting. Can't find Lumigen audio device website anymore. Yeah, I asked about that. I'm like, I didn't realize that audio device carried Lumigen. But if you want to get it through them, I think it's one of those things where you might have to call and ask and kind of work together. So up until that point, all those photos, essentially, that was my Friday. From Friday morning, show opened, exhibits opened essentially at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. And they closed down a little bit early because there was a whole party. So this was new. They didn't do this last year, but we actually took a little bit of a walk down the street from the hotel to the Lincoln Theater, I think it was called. The Link, I believe I heard it was called locally. And so there was some presentations, there were some speeches. Scott, the audio device CEO, kind of opened the show, gave a really nice talk about their values, their goals, and all that sort of stuff. And pictures are out of order. The band opened a little bit, but then they played on for a while. Some good tunes. I stayed for, I would say, a good portion of the music, and then ended up kind of segueing out to go to dinner with some folks, Michael and some other folks. And that was pretty much it. We came back to the hotel lobby, we chilled, ordered those cookies, and just kind of hung out until we crashed. And so day two, well, main day, Saturday. So Friday, I would say there was a decent amount of people. As time kicked on into the afternoon, the crowd got bigger. Early and Friday, it was very open, easy opportunity to get in and out of the spaces and all that stuff. But I got up on Saturday, and I actually went in the JVC room a little early, hoping to kind of beat the crowd a little bit and reintroduce myself to some of the folks from JVC. And so their theater setup there was, I call it a little bit Spartan in some ways compared to the other rooms. I think they were in the same room or maybe just adjacent to where they were last year. But this was a combination of JVC, Golden Ear speakers, Arkham processor, and I don't remember. I don't think there was a video processor in here because they wanted to show their own, the JVC tone mapping, and of course the big gun, the model of my dreams, the NZ9. So they were running the NZ9. So I got a little private demo of that. Of course, this room was all Kaleidescape based. Quite a bit more, I'd say, about the JVC projector. The Golden Ear speakers, we're doing some work. A good friend of mine has a pair of Triton 2 Pluses, I think they are. Bought actually at my suggestion. Another room where there was towers, right? Towers set up for the surrounds in that versus bookshelves on stands or whatnot. Probably a little safer that way. People walking in and out all the time. Just going to be apt to like knock a speaker off of a shelf. Two subwoofers in here, Golden Ear. I think those are the Golden Ears as well. They're force fields. You add up most of these rooms, they're pretty expensive. Most of them were pretty expensive endeavors. But so they had the ballroom by the registration where they did the panels, and then next to that, last year that dual, there were two separate rooms. They were segmented. This year, last year it was one big room, completely dedicated to the panels. This time they kind of like tightened up and reduced the count of the panels, and that made room in the space next door for this gem. So this was the JBL room. A lot of different JBL stuff around the space, but they partnered with Samsung in here. Although aren't they technically all under the same Harman brand moniker? But 146-inch Samsung the wall. They had a smaller one out in the lobby as well. I actually didn't really take much of an opportunity to look at that one. But yeah, 146-inch. It's surrounded in this constructed floating wall, basically, by these JBL. I'm going to probably butcher the model number. SCL2, I think, are these in walls, big horn loaded in walls. And there's two subwoofers as well. So this wasn't a theater setup. There wasn't any surround. There wasn't any Atmos. Just the front presentation here. I was told that this was being ran off of a receiver as well. And this was a big room, but these are big speakers, and those horns make a lot of sound. Oh my gosh. It's amazing how these speakers filled this space with sound. And even the bass, actually, with from the subwoofers that were there, was doing some work. So 146 inches this thing is. Anybody care to guess the price? Throw it in the chat. What do you think a 146-inch MSRP on a Samsung wall TV is right now? So here's a shot kind of the whole space. Pretty big room, multiple little stations. There was some vinyl in here, some other speakers, and so on. Let's go a little Price is Right game. I'm not getting any takers. Kaleidescape, of course, was also running this. So I'll tell you, $220,000. $220,000. So anybody want one? Cherubin, you're a little low. You're a little low. Yeah, $220K for 146 inches. I believe, if I recall correctly, this was 3 panels. I should have waited a little longer. I think the lag of the chat was just coming through. Rob, 125K. Yeah, so 220 for the TV. I had a bunch of questions about this just because it's the first time seeing it, and I was curious about it. I really do believe, like, you give it 10 years maybe, and we probably may not have projectors in our spaces. We might have stuff like this. So, I mean, most of the time I was in this room. Actually, I was never in this room with it dark, and of course it's bright. The brightness of the television is solid. The black levels are pretty good. To its detriment, it has a little bit of a graininess to it, almost like a film grain kind of layer being put on there. And I also felt too, let me go to some of the other photos. So here's some action shots. So Top Gun, I was in there for a while. They played a good bit of some demo scenes from Top Gun, and it's nice. It's solid. The one thing, so aside from the film grain piece, the motion. and I think very specifically, the film motion needs some work. I actually I asked the Samsung guy, or I told him, I'm like, as I was chatting with him and asking some questions, I'm like, you guys should put a Mad VR on this thing, because like if there's any display here that feels like it would benefit from some motion AI motion enabled handling, like this is the one that needs it. And I went and told the Mad VR guys as well. I'm like, hey, I tried to plant a seed in the Samsung guy's ear to have you guys go hook up a system. But of course, there's no way they wanted to try to do that. I think on the fly, take it down and then have something not work right and have it be down for the show. I get that 100%. But that would have been something to see, because there was definitely elements where like, and you could really see it kind of clearly. I would say, in Top Gun and stuff, where the planes are flying. Probably you can already see in my face. I'll go back to this one. Planes were flying, and they'd really flying fast and whatnot, and they kind of break up. The motion handling would break up a bit, and so it needs some help. It needs some help in that area. I was curious as well too when I was talking to the Samsung guy. I'm like, how do you connect to this thing? I was kind of assuming that like it's got some special box, and who knows, like you got to have something to plug the HDMI cables into, and he's like, no, it's like you just plug the HDMI right into the TV. Wow, I didn't expect that. That's pretty cool. If they're at that point with it as well. That's probably an interesting sign. But yeah, it's crazy expensive, but we'll see. If you think what 10 years has done for us in technology right now, right? We've only had what have we had iPhones since 2007. So what we've been able to do in 15 years, I guess, in that case, with smartphones and tablets and computers and everything else, where technology will be in another 10 years. I don't know. Could this be 20K? The price of a super premium projector for a sizable screen in a decade. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So Truben says best looking screen in the business. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Oh, thank you so much, super sticker, Truben, $3. I really appreciate it. I got some other pictures a little bit later on as well. Saturday night. This is still Saturday. I'm making my rounds, doing my thing, visiting all these spaces. But we were back. A bunch of folks were back in the wall room Saturday night for a little bit of an after party, and so that was cool. We did some stuff in there, or I say they did some stuff. I was kind of just hanging out. So this is the monitor audio. This is the GTZ 380. Big screen, 170 inches, or I think, or something it was quoted at. I don't remember who the screen maker was in this case, but Synergy, this is the monitor audio Synergies. Those Batwing looking hyphen speakers were kind of over in the side. So this was like a double ballroom, one side segmented into a theater, one side segmented into the other 2-channel space. This had all the fixins, Kaleidescape, some really high-end processing and all that. These Synergy speakers actually did have the bookshelf versions for the surrounds. There's the GTZ 380. I've been able to see this thing now at a few different places. And yeah, if I had the ability to flip my room around and put this in the storage room shooting through the wall, I could happily run a GTZ 380. Here's the stack, Mad VR, Kaleidescape, Trinoff, and I forget the amps. Forget the amps in here, but everything in the stack was considerable. This was also the room where I think this was just kind of a sweep of the front. They had just basic chairs in here, but the Audio Advice Revelation chairs, there was a lineup of them in the back of this room. The last row of this theater setup was the Revolutions. Sorry if I'm giving anybody whiplash, moving a little bit fast probably with this filming. So there's the Mad VR, the Kaleidescape, Trinoff, and more. I'll get to Ruben's other comment because it's important, I think, with regards to some of these projectors. So yes, so these the GTZ 380, and I think even the Barco actually can take 240 volt power. And if you want to get the most capability out of them, you need to run them on the higher power. I think, I don't remember what the Barco was getting in its room. If they had I don't think anybody was able to furnish 240 volt power in the rooms, but I don't remember if they had a step up transformer or anything on the Barco. But I believe that this one was only getting 110. I don't think I've ever seen a GTZ 380 actually on 240 power. I've seen it in a couple of times, a couple places now, but I don't think I've ever seen it at full power. I didn't get the seat. We'll come back. I know I've got the seats later on. So again, this is still Saturday, making the round Saturday. So here's the SVS room, and there's your answer, Julius's question, I think. Denon receiver. I don't remember which model was running this room, but they had just a TCL TV in here, no Kaleidescape or anything like that. They were actually playing discs. Sony, that on the top there under the TV, that's a Sony Blu-ray player. They were flipping discs. So SVS towers, a pair of SVS subs in the front. There's the elevations again, kind of on the temporary like posts that were standing up there. See the other sub kind of down on the right. And yeah, I mean, this stuff, it was doing some work in this room. Oh, I forget the name of this movie. World War II bomber scene from a movie that I hadn't really, Unbroken, that's what it was. A lot of similar demos being used through the show. Not a lot of Ready Player One this year. Top Gun Maverick kind of picked up one of the things that that everybody was using a lot of. There was a lot of The Greatest Showman, the scene where she's singing the big solo musical number, and PT is sitting over on the side, and his wife gets mad and that stuff. That one for the vocals, that was being used in a lot of rooms. What else? Ghostbusters Afterlife, the beginning intro scene where he's kind of running from the ghost was a big demo. So lots of similar content. There's definitely some scenes some movies I hadn't seen before, and some demo scenes that I'm eager to kind of get to in my own space when I get a chance to go down there. Try and pick up the pace a little bit here. So that's the SVS room. So here we go. Another one of my favorites there. Another name Focal room. Sopra 2s. And I think one of their more exclusive, like special edition finishes. So in this room, I hung around a little bit and was able to actually hear kind of all three speakers. And Sopras are so nice. And then the other models, they're running again all on their own stuff, name stuff. Man, I just love these speakers. So this is, this one might show a little bit kind of what you're getting in a lot of these listening rooms, right? It's kind of like a single hotel room space. The furniture, the beds have been taken out, and you've got in this way like multiple kind of like seating directions to listen to the different pairs of speakers that they could switch around and and experiment kind of, or switch between. I definitely want to check out some of that new name gear. So there's kind of the whole setup here on the other side of the room. And again, now you're talking about like maybe six plus or minus a few chairs in most of these spaces, some maybe up to 10. We'll get back to some comments here in a minute. Just toss up some more of these. So here we go. Per listen. I was ecstatic to see this. As far as I understand now, Audio Advice carries them. I haven't looked actually on the Audio Advice webpage to see if they're listed there for general sale or if you have to call. But cool. They've been the internet darling of so many channels and so many reviews for a while. These are the I think I might butcher the model number again, S7Ts. It's the biggest speakers in their lineup, basically. So they were running in a 2-channel setup here. I don't remember what they were running off of. They had a streaming DAC. I think they were actually some of the turntables in some of these rooms were being used. Some of them were kind of just there for show. But then over on the side, they had one of them. They had one of the new in walls. That thing is a beast. It is a beefy, dense speaker. So I chatted with these folks for a good while, and their CTO was the one, at least when I was in the room, there. So I don't know. Could the Techthusiasm hi-fi and home theater spaces be? Could the focal be supplanted with per listen? I don't know. Maybe. I definitely want. I have some ideas in mind, but I was showing them my setups and the pictures of the theaters with the focal 1000s and all that stuff, and yeah. So one of the brands I hope to be talking with quite a bit more. I think the density of those in walls have a lot to do with like their just overall kind of stability in their sound potential. Some of the beefiest in walls I've held, and that's just the bookshelf. There's the bigger variants as well, three-way variants and such. A couple comments, just rolling back through, see where I left off. Frankie, amps for turn off for the bed layers. Oh yeah, and the monitor audio amps for the subs in that room. Trubin, what do you think of the Sony 9890L TV with the PlayStation? I really didn't look at it too much. I mean, it was big, but it was in a big space as well. So it was kind of like not necessarily in a hallway, but there's like a landing foyer area that like four of the big ballrooms kind of dumped out into. Um, and so the impactfulness of such a large TV, but I didn't really even sit there and mess around with it too much. Walking by, I was talking with some other folks as well that were like really impressed by like, wow, that's like what games look like nowadays, and because they were playing basketball and a few other things on it. But yeah, we'll see if I really get serious about looking at some 98-inch TVs. Um, the new Sony. I'm curious to see how the new Sony stacks up ultimately against the TCL QM8 this year. We'll see how that goes. Oh, look who's here. We got the folks from Audio Advice with us. Yeah, so happy. Again, I just want to very much give my thank you for the invitation. Awesome hosts, great event, and very eager to do it all again for sure. Yeah, Bodie was there. Got to meet him. Hello, hello. Talking about the per listens, we do sell them. Only a few models available, but more to come. So there you go. You want your per listens? Get them from Audio Advice, and make sure to go through a Techthusiasm affiliate link to do so. Filippo saying, "Oh, we used your home theater designer back in 2021 when we built our basement out. Thanks so much." Yeah, that's a really cool tool. If you haven't used it, check it out. I've actually been meaning for so long to basically put my room into the designer and see like what the designer says versus what the reality of I did or was able to achieve because of room constraints, and see what I'm out of model for. Someday I'll make that video. So here was the some of the the Saturday night party. So yeah, on that big Samsung 146-inch wall, they broke out a PS5, and so two awesome things I'll say about it with kind of the extra time from the party that night. One, the motion on the gaming was better, so some of the little breakup and some of the areas where the motion handling I think fell apart a little bit on the big wall, I think was due to 24 hertz film refresh rates, because I didn't notice any motion problems with the PS5, which I presume was running at 60 hertz, 60 FPS. And so, wow, and you want a gaming monitor and you got 220 in your pocket, it's pretty good. This looked great. So they did some I forget all the games actually that were being played. I think actually I want to say too, somebody later on said that that they were playing Super Smash Brothers. So I don't know if the Switch was brought in there later on. But the other thing about that room, before the PlayStation got brought down, they were just playing concerts. There was just a whole bunch of us mingling and talking and whatnot in there, getting to know folks and meeting new people and whatnot. And they played I don't even remember actually the concert. It was all off the Kaleidescape, but they cranked it. So the volume was strong. Those JBLs, they filled that room. Like you, I understand why people go to brands like JBL, JTR, and whatnot, for home theater. You got a big space, particularly, and you like loud listening levels. Those speakers, they stand up. I couldn't believe like the sound. I think lesser speakers would have buckled with those volume and like loudness and space volume demands. So yeah, this is fantastic. Again, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, maybe we'll see where this thing goes, where the future holds. And then I got to show this. So one really awesome channel community member brought the bourbon, like serious bourbon. Like this is serious bourbon here. So he made a comment. He's like, "Yeah, I know you talked about whiskey or whatever on your channel, and I'm a bourbon fan. Got my Kentucky Bourbon Trail Distillery map right here from our last run through Kentucky." So um, super gracious. I am totally remiss again. I did such a bad job like taking pictures with folks and getting a record of everybody that I was able to hang out with. But if you're out there and you're seeing this, know that I appreciate this. It was cool. Really super cool. That was Saturday. Um, that was basically, we're talking like Saturday night, getting pretty late Saturday night here. So Sunday we were up. The first place that I went and filmed on Sunday was the Kef room. I didn't end up really getting any footage or shots from the Kef audio section, but what we went up there to look at was this gaming setup. So I was actually walking down the hallway, and there he is, of course, Mr. Youthman, Michael. He's like, "Hey, you want to come up to the Kef room? I'm gonna go check it out and do some filming up there." So I'm like, "Oh yeah, I haven't been up there yet. Give me a good excuse to go with folks." This was just insane. So what we're looking at here is three. You can kind of see the seams, right? Seams right here. Three 120-inch. I think hopefully I get all these statistics right. Stewart screens, kind of meshed together in this special build using three Epson ultra short throw projectors. You can kind of see them down here in like the cabinetry shooting up. This is PC gaming. As far as I know, they were running like Forza. I never made it in. I only went into the room once. So I think on Saturday they were racing. On Sunday, it was all flight sim. So there was a gaming PC here. It didn't have a ton of horsepower. It's like a 3060 Ti. It was the GPU, if I recall correctly. But you're sitting in that one seat in the middle there, like greater essentially greater than 180 field of view, because we were sitting ahead of the back of the screens on the sides, completely seamless and wild. That's Matt from Storm Audio. He was in there playing when we walked in. Michael gave it a go. He's got his video coming, and then I had my shot. So playing around in here. Michael was filming. I plan to edit this, but I'll show. I don't think I can pipe the audio through. So I'll give a little bit of a teaser, but I plan to make an edited video. So as we're there, we're kind of I'm still flying. I was getting ready to end my turn. Who walks in, right? But a pilot, all in her gear. She's standing behind me, and they're basically like, teach him how to fly. Make sure he flies the plane right. So she's barking at me, all in good fun. We were having a good time with it. So like, all right, you're going to land this plane. You're going to land it. You're going to land it the right way. So I'm playing, I'm not a passenger plane. Of course, got like a jet fighter here. But we're actually flying over North Carolina, and the Raleigh airport, it was on the horizon there. So I saw it, and she's giving me the pointers, kill this speed, bank this way, do this thing. It was fun. It was really cool. So there's like, well, that one, and I'll spoil the ending here. So here's my approach coming in to Raleigh Durham Airport, right? She's giving me the business, making sure that I'm flying this plane right. Getting my approach, getting everything squared away, and I stuck this plane right on that runway. I didn't even bounce it. It was a good good moment. You can see it coming in right there. Look at that. Almost right on that line. Almost right on that line. Everybody's going crazy. Yeah, all right. That was a great moment of the show. I got to get that footage to I'll have to get that footage to the audio advice folks, see if they want to use that at all for something. But yeah, no pressure for sure. Definitely that was a complete and utter test of my gaming credibility right there. And happy to say that I delivered in the moment. So that was fun. And man, that setup again, that was just insane. What do we got? Next room, B&W. Yep. So 800s, just some really nice gear in here. My goodness, the Class A, those amps. Oh, so we got the bigger 800s, and then the 80. So the 804s or the 5s, the bookshelves. The bookshelves were not connected. I was asking the guys from B&W. Actually, I talked to these guys at the party, the hangout on Saturday night. We were drinking some whiskey and whatnot together. And they're like, oh, make sure you come by the next day. So yeah, cool. So I came by. There wasn't really many people in the room when I came through, but this would have been a really cool setup if the bookshelves and the big towers were like switchable and able to be kind of compared and contrasted against each other. Just like, this level of speaker having like the big one and kind of the little one side by side, and what do you really get in terms of like bass and dynamics and whatnot out of one of these compared to the other. But only the big towers were functional in the room. They brought the bookshelves basically for show. So I gave them the feedback. I'm like, oh man, like that would have been phenomenal if you could like have just quick switched, same audio source, run the same amps, all else being equal. Give me the AB of these two speakers and really kind of let me learn something about the difference between a big tower and its equivalent, little sibling in the same space like this. That would have been cool. But as it was, these are still great speakers. I think I made the comment in my IG post that I started my home theater audio video journey with B&W 5.1 setup of the CDMNTs back in 2000, and I always thought that like the 800s would kind of be my end game, but look great, sound great, just beautiful speakers. And again, those amps too, the digital meters and contoured edges and all that stuff. Pricey stuff, but phenomenal. So talk about pricey stuff. That's basically a work of art in conjunction with being a speaker. This is the new Sonus Faber speakers, the Stradivari. I think I'm saying that right. I forget the price on these guys. It's hefty though, 50,000, I think, for the pair, maybe more. Again, this is a premium space. You can see as well, the difference in some of the environments. If you think you may want to attend the show in a future year, right? How some of these rooms were bigger and some of them are smaller. So I really like the look of the Sonus Faber speaker lineup. They have in walls too, a couple different lineups of in walls. But wow, like these things are like they're furniture works of art. Beautiful. I love how they do the speaker covers, right? Not traditional speaker covers. It's kind of this like line string covering. It almost makes it feel like more musical or musical in a way. So, these things are big. I didn't take a picture of me standing next to them as well, but this stuff is heavy duty, audio quality, and expensive. Here's the speaker connectors. I noticed that when I got up to leave that like, oh, this thing had kind of like a pigtail on the back, and like, wow, like the speaker terminals are like in this pad, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. I didn't have a chance to talk to the Sonus Faber folks and really ask a whole lot of questions. There was a bunch of people in this room, and they kept coming and going, and the demos just weren't. The demos were just flowing. So I would have been eager to learn a little bit more about like what's really going on back here. And does it look like there was like a selector switch and stuff. So pretty wild. They weren't actually running the vinyl in here. They were playing music. They were playing, I think, was off of a streamer. A lot of the electronics, I think, are Mishi. Mishi is the brand that goes with them. Cobuz is there, of course. You see their sign in a lot of these setups. Um, Big Show partner, etc. So they were being used in quite a lot of the rooms. I think I made the IG post, and I've said this on the channel as well, that like if I had to sell my house and move and divest myself of my theater, um, what would I do? What would I take the equivalent spending of the living room setup that I have right now, the theater setup that I have right now, and if I were to just put all of that money into like a single living room setup, what would I do? And I think it'd be a 98-inch TV, and it would be a television flanked with something like this, like literally just, yeah, Bodie's got it. Just drop the 50K and just buy these speakers and call it a day. 2 channel. Watch movies that way. Just the sound is just on a whole nother level. It's insane. Percy Eskin, what have you covered so far? Should we rewind? We're an hour and 16 minutes in. I've covered everything I did on Friday, everything I did on Saturday, Wednesday night. And so now, from a timeline perspective, we're into Sunday and we're almost done. Almost done with the show and everything that I saw and did. And again, I only probably did a third, I would guess, maybe 40% of all the rooms and all the spaces. So here's one of the stars of the show, the new Audio Device Revelation seats. These were very nice, I have to say. Very different than the row ones. So I'm left with more consternation over like what kind of theater seat do I really want to have in the Techthusiasm home theater? But they did a fantastic job with these. So I was able to sit. Look at that smile. I was able to sit very comfortably. I love these shots too. I just figured, why not picture the legs and in the feet up, chilling. I'll go ahead and play the video while I'm talking about it. But so I found these very comfortable. I found that my feet kind of scraped the floor, or almost were maybe a little bit above it. Sitting in there at my height, I'm 5'10" ish. But when I put the footrest up, I put a little lumbar in there. I brought the headrest up. Like my body fit comfortably, very, very comfortably in this seat, from head to back to butt and legs and all of that. I love the controls in the cup holder. Excuse me. I love the defeatable lights that you can turn them off. The fabric, it's the vegan leather, which I'm pretty well acquainted with. It's basically similar material to what we have in the seats, the interior of our Tesla, and I'm pretty happy with that material in the car. We've had that car almost 2 years. I think it's comfortable. It's almost like a little bit of a hybrid between a leather and a fabric. So of course, there's the storage in the seats there. You get the table. Thought I had a picture. I guess I didn't get a good picture with the tray table, but you get the tray table that clips in to like that kind of universal holder there. So these are great. I mean, if you're thinking about seats, I would put them on your list for sure. Definitely need to talk perhaps with the folks at Audio Device about those chairs. We'll see. So they were here. They were at a couple other places throughout the show, but this is where I really got a chance to sit in them and kind of give them a full do. So there's that Kaleidescape remote, the new one that's been shipping here for a little while. Comes with the Stratos. You can buy it if you bought your Strato in the time frame where they were not shipping a remote and you want one. It's available independently. I want to say it's $39 MSRP. but just for scale, you can see it in my hand there. Nothing really on the back. IR, pretty light, plastic key. Um, all in all, a little basic. So there was a comment about this, and I will concur. I think they had a little bit of a miss with the fact that they didn't put volume controls on here. I would consider using any remote to control a video content playback device that I cannot also raise or lower the volume or mute my audio system with the same remote is a pain. I agree. I really like how the Apple TV remote, I just did the video on it, posted it, I think, this past Monday, how the Apple TV remote can learn IR signals from other remotes and control volume, up, down, mute. I think that's great. I think they should have copied that in there. That would have been preferable there. So here's one of the cool kind of stopovers. So we were in the room here. One of the other neat experiences that I had kind of was being able to kind of tag along at times with some of the entourages that were going around. So Gene and Shane and Don and their significant others and whatnot. I kind of walked around with them a couple different times, and then it was cool though because like watching some of the other folks work, basically watching them shoot. I got to see Scott and Harrison and the audio device, like social folks, specifically come into this room and film, and definitely had some takeaways from kind of how they went about it and all that stuff. But while I was in there, too, Chana was in there, and they actually let him load some of his, say, custom Atmos mixes of a couple songs, which actually had some video in that with them. And these tracks were just killer. They were really good. It wasn't the Dolby Atmos disc content that he's just released, but it was just like some re-sampled Atmos mixed music that he had done. So everybody dug it. It was thumbs up around the room. He played 2 tracks in there kind of briefly, and then the doors opened up and other folks came back through. So let's see. Oh, we're gonna get some gym pics too. So yeah, again, I did a terrible job. There's Chana and home theater hobbyist, Mr. Cody there. This is like the only picture I took with other people. And on Sunday, I was like, after we did this one, I'm like, oh man, I should walk around and find everybody else and try to take some more photos. So I kind of failed in that regard. And then the last kind of content here that I had shot, these are the row ones, the Cavalieris. This is back in the Sony Kef room. The cloth version of these chairs, the leather version was in the Focal room. And like these are just fantastic as well, but in a different way. And the fact that basically you can have a chair that's a very comfortable home theater seat that doesn't obstruct your listening, particularly for a surround sound setup. So when this flap headrest is down, your head is open in space. That's what I have right now in my theater space with the couch that's sitting up in a low profile piece of furniture. You don't have obstruction from all of your speakers and your bed layer and whatnot. And even when you bring up the headrest here, I kind of put it in a couple, like 3 different levels, all the way down, kind of leaning back a little bit, and then a little more forward and supported. When I was sitting in this chair, even with the headrest all the way up, it's still coming mid or upper neck, kind of like lower part of the head. And you still have an openness in your ears. So it's an interesting design. Controls are in the seat side there. There's a home button. There's one up and down for the headrest. There's another up and down for the footrest. The drawers pull out actually from the bottom front. So those push back. You can hide the cup holders. And then here's the drawer that opens up kind of in the front rather than it being like a console style compartment. It's down in the front of the seat. And then of course they have these lights that clip in. They're powered when they're in. You can pull them out and put them away. Touch sensitive and can move them all around. Basically a reading light. not so much maybe for home theater purpose per se. Maybe useful if you're in your home theater, you're sitting in the chair doing setup or calibrations or something like that. But if you're using the seats in a bit of a combo, living room, home theater, multifunction room, um, and we'll see what else the folks at Row One come up with that may be able to clip in to those power ports. So there could be other devices. I'm not sure what they have USB-C charging, and like a lot of them do. And I think actually these had USB-Cs, which is great. Got that new iPhone coming in a couple weeks. I think better be USB-C. Want everything to be USB-C. So that's a good. Oh, darn it. That's a good shot actually of the back. Let me go back to that. So in the back there, you can kind of see there how the headrest is being lifted up on these arms. So it goes down flush and then it comes up to basically give you the head support. So that's everything that I took in terms of footage, content, etc. From the weekend. After that, I was on my way to the airport and on my way home. I almost stayed Sunday night. I almost got bumped. Or they actually asked that the flight was overbooked and is anybody willing to give up their seat? I think there was a family with a little baby because they were up there talking to the folks at Delta quite a bit and looking concerned or whatnot. So they were going to give like $550. You get the hotel for the night, comped, and food vouchers for dinner and stuff. So I actually went up and put my name on the list, but they didn't end up actually needing. I was number 2. I figure might as well take the vouchers. We got to buy flights for a family vacation that we've got planned for early next year. So why not have Delta help fund some of that? But it wasn't to be. So I did get home as expected Sunday evening and crashed pretty hard. So any other questions, comments, thoughts, any other audio advice live? We're at an hour and a half. So we'll kind of go over a couple other quick topics, I think, and then we'll wrap it up here for tonight. I did want to highlight a couple things. I mentioned wanting to add in kind of the This Week in Kaleidescape to the streams. So, oh, no. Don't reload that window. I'll try and get rid of this. Opening Kaleidescape app. There's a couple there we go. A couple specific things that I wanted to show. So there's a lot of store activity basically in the last week. We did get Spider-Verse. So Spider-Verse is out on digital platforms. I am very eager to take a look at this on iTunes. I'm curious what this is streaming at. So stay tuned for that. I definitely want to check the streaming rates. I already bought this thing pre-ordered, downloaded, ready to go. We just watched Into the Spider-Verse with the family again a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, and I am hoping maybe this weekend, hopefully maybe Friday night or whatnot, we'll be able to knock this out in the theater. We've got other additions and upgrades. Yeah, Sammy's saying he just pre-ordered Elemental. Yep, that's one of the new ones. So we got some 4K upgrades. Oh, let me sort by unowned, actually. Pull that off of there. So 80s film buffs, 1984. It's right in my wheelhouse. Footloose, 4K. And I don't know if any of these are scheduled for disc or if they've already gotten 4K disc releases or not, but that popped up. I'm pretty sure this was already in the store, Officer and a Gentleman, now in 4K. And then this was awesome. So there was like a Bruce Lee collection 4K disc package announced some time ago. I'm not sure exactly when it's supposed to come out. I don't think it's out yet. So I'm crossing my fingers. I really, really want Kaleidescape content, folks. Come on. I want to see all 5 Bruce Lee films. We're missing one, but I want to get them all in 4K, and I want to watch the whole series there. So Enter the Dragon. We got a new poster to go with it too. That's a poster update. We got special features. So very, very nice update package here, and gotta love it. $492 $492 upgrade price. I haven't bought the stuff yet. I thought about doing it already ahead of time, but I'll definitely, again, as all of us Kaleidescape owners say, in digital offers and disc to digital, $492, we'll take them all day long. So definitely be upgrading Footloose, be upgrading Enter the Dragon. We got the Meg 2. I did watch the first one of that some time back. This is a real big split in Rotten Tomatoes there. 27% reviewers, 73%. It's almost a straight up reversal. So that's a pre-order. Unfortunately, a $39.99 pre-order. Come on, Warner. Come on, Warner. And then Elemental, which is rocking pretty good actually in the reviews as well. Disney Pixar. So I wish Kay could tell us. Well, actually, they have it there. Sometimes they show it. I think sometimes they don't. Release date expected August 15th. So we'll have this one pretty soon. Meg 2, yeah, release date to be announced. So you don't always necessarily know. And then Turtles. I can't remember if Turtles was up last week as well. Paramount, $30. I'm excited for that one as well. That'll be a fun one with the kids. Introduce my son to the Ninja Turtles. We've still been doing a lot of Marvel stuff, playing Marvel superheroes and whatnot. So yeah, some definite pre-orders that I've got planned there. And we already had 2 Barbie and Mission Impossible were all up. So $24.99. Paramount not being stingy with the dates to be announced. But yeah, come on, look at this, right? Warner Brothers, Barbie, $39.99. Meanwhile, Paramount, Disney, Pixar are putting their brand new films up for pre-order at $24.99. Well, there are some new content sets that went up as these continue to spool into the store. So if you're looking to pad up that Kaleidescape library, and this is the way to do it. So we got the Indiana Jones collection. I'm sure we should be seeing a listing for the 5th movie pretty soon as well, I would imagine. How to Train Your Dragon. I'm logged in, so I own all these movies, so we can't get the prices. But I think last week we had just gotten up to John Wick. So 2 new content sets this weekend. There was a question posed on the owners forum as well. Kind of an observation that, like, with the advent of the content sets, are we not going to get the super bundles anymore? And there was a Kaleidescape official answer that no, in fact, the ongoing growth of the content set does not mean that the idea of the super bundle is defunct. So we will hopefully still expect to see more super bundles. Come on, Studio Ghibli. There are quite a bit of things on sale as well right now. So be advised, recent releases at hot prices through August 15th. So some relatively new movies have come in here. If you picked any of these up as well, let me know. Sound off. I had already grabbed Dungeons and Dragons. Not sure what others of these I might end up picking up. There's the Elemental pre-order, Ninja Turtles, Indiana Jones franchise. So another lesson as well, if you're in the ecosystem or thinking about getting in, a lot of times I think content sets get launched at promotional prices, and then they may adjust a little higher a little bit later. So if you want the films, you need the films, and you see the content set pop, especially if they advertise it very specifically here as limited special pricing, you may want to jump on content sets when you first see them. So, and then a whole lot more on sale. August action here. We got DC superhero stuff. I think this one might be running a little longer than August 15th. Yeah, a lot of Warner Brothers things on sale. I should probably do this while being logged out because my library is pretty massive. I think I probably will end up grabbing War of the Worlds here. HDR, the original 1953 version. So yeah, what are you buying? What are you buying? Let's see a couple comments. Yep, Sammy saying he just pre-ordered Elemental. Percy, yep, Enter the Dragon. Yep, being released. I thought they were doing the whole. I thought they were doing the whole thing. Oh, here it is right here. Yeah, Bruce Lee at Golden Harvest, 71 to 81. Is this it? Yeah, Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, Enter the Dragon, Game of Death. Oh, this already came out July 24th. Just came out a couple weeks ago. So this is probably where they're starting to get the masters from. Before it was Criterion as well that was holding the rights to these films, and that was, I think, it had been a little bit of a blocker for Kaleidescape getting them, but it's Arrow now. So I think I'm hopeful. Hopefully we'll get them all. This is another, what is this? Store exclusive, perhaps. But yeah, they're all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Game of Death too, even. 6 films. So Sammy saying Across Spider-Verse doesn't sit next to in Spider-Verse. Yeah. Yeah, we need series grouping. Kaleidescape. We need series grouping. One question back here about those seats. Does row 1 have a love seat configuration? I think there is. The Cavallari is on their webpage, actually. So if you go to row1ht.com, you can go to collection, Cavallari. Yep, there's even a 3-row sofa config. So I think they're really intending this chair to be kind of multifunction, meaning not just a home theater chair, but also, capable in a living room. So you've got the chair, you've got a love seat config, and a 3-spot sofa. I always wonder when you do the 3 sofa, like how do you control the middle seat? I'll have to ask Todd that. That one baffles me in some of these home theater chair configurations. When there's the button, the buttons are in the armrest, but there's no buttons. So how do you manage the seat? So yeah, back to school sale. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff on sale right now in the K store. Some good movies in here. I would be inclined to grab some of these just for the collection as well. Back to school, classic, old school. But who knows whatever is going to come out in 4K. And I do feel the risk of like buying even $10, $14, and then later on, just in case the digital offer isn't $4.92. Yeah, I tend to hold off on some of these. So if you're thinking about it, get in the store. Quite a lot for sale right now. The other quick thing that I'll make a mention of, just for upcoming content and so on, is I did have only a very little more occasion to tinker around with the Halo Touch, but I did make, thanks to Dan and some comments and whatnot, did make a discovery how to, in fact, do the custom buttons. I called it custom, but if I click here, there we go. So in the control forward programming, there's something called a custom button agent that applies to a room, and you can define a whole bunch of them. I think you can do like 6 per room, and they have multiple options per entry, and you can program whatever you want on these buttons. So this is the living room config. I've got a pretty cool one right here. Game mode, what that does is it actually like toggles the TV between like video picture settings and game mode settings, just in case I need to. Mostly I really use that for the Apple TV. So you can throw it into game mode when we're gaming on the Apple TV and put it back into video otherwise. And then optimizer and info are just kind of for pop-ups. But I am figuring out there is more. I know when I did this a week ago and we were first messing around with this, I was feeling that it was a little limited, but it really just boiled down to, of course, spending more time with it and figuring some more stuff out. So stay tuned for more on the Halos. Another quick comment I'll make is that battery on this thing, I've left it out and picked it up a couple of times, and it's empty. It actually went to 0, and I've had to put it on the charger. So if you are going to run some Halo touches in your setup, this definitely needs to hit the charger every night so that it's fully ready to go for your TV watching sessions or movie watching sessions and whatnot the next day. So Dan texted me a bunch of stuff. There's more cool things that have been enabled. It's really just a matter of figuring them out. As well also as some additional capability that came to the non-touch version, such as to date, like doing the custom buttons on this one had been global, meaning you like set the buttons and that's it. But now I believe there's a way to customize the 3 hard buttons per room, which is pretty sweet. So if you're porting one of these remotes around, you can, and you change rooms, you can have the buttons and their functionalities follow you. So they're doing stuff. Updates are coming, functionalities coming. I do have to say, like, I am liking the handle of this in the hand, because this one is so big. It's so much taller, and I do get a little bit lost in all the buttons, but we'll see. I have been pitching to Dan the idea of like the long overdue deep dive live stream where we kind of like pull up my Control4 setup and all of the programming and go over like some of the cool things that are in there. So maybe I'm hoping maybe next week. We'll see. You got to check on it's really just based on Dan's availability. But I do have that plan coming up. I've reached out to some other friends for some interesting collaborations and discussions coming up for future live streams as well. So want to make sure to acknowledge this, Mr. Julius, $10 super chat, super thanks. Thank you. 2 of them. Did you mean to do 2? Hopefully you did. I really appreciate it. But if not, I can probably help that out if that was a double click or something. Let me know. But I really appreciate it. Again, it's all going into the channel. Sammy's saying, going to make my control decision after I see what's going on at CDS. Hopefully some new remotes are there. Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. Leaning toward the Core Light bundle. So I did get as well confirmation. That was brought up in a question last week. And I did get a confirmation from Dan that the Core Light bundle is actually pretty nice. I'm just trying to pull up his message on another screen here. So Core Light bundle with a Halo non-touch. From what he says, they don't have the Core Light touch bundles yet, but this brought the price, the entry point of Control4 down pretty considerably, down by like a third, several $100s less than the like former controller and bundle. And they do actually have Core Light bundles, from what he said, that include the non-touch, the Neo, and the SR260. But I would advise very, 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 very strongly, don't buy a Core Light with a Neo. God's sakes, buy this. When it comes, get this one. Get the new one. The Neo is no good. You're going to want these transport buttons, if nothing else. And even for the money, it's a little bit cheaper to do like an SR260 Core Light bundle, but I could not advise it in good faith. Get the Halo. So for all intents and purposes, if you're a Techthusiast, the Core Light bundles with the Neo and the SR260 don't even exist. Get the latest, greatest. Get these new remotes. They're brand new. They're going to be supported with features and capabilities and software. They're so much better. They feel better in the hand. They work better, and so on than everything that came before it. So do that and only that. Julius, yes, spent it 220. Awesome. Thank you, my friend. I really do super appreciate it. Rob asking, does the Core Light have an iPad app to control everything? So it's not even it's just Control4. So you do get app control with Control4. Actually, I can show it here, because this is my Mac, but this is Control4. It's the same app on the Mac as it is on my iPhone, as it is on the iPad, and so on. And this has actually gotten some recent updates as well. So nice iconography changes and other things like that. But this is what you're looking at if you wanted to control a Control4 system, with the app. So as you notice, it mirrors very closely the watch functionality of the remote itself. It's got Apple TV, looks like an Apple TV. Kaleidescape has a logo, PC switch and all of that, lighting, like everything is there. And actually, you have to use the app because that's how you set this up. So the one thing that I was missing a week ago when it came to like trying to get those custom buttons defined is you have to go into Composer, you have to define a custom button agent for the room, you define the buttons, you set their programming, and then in the app, you actually have to like favorite. This is what I was missing last time. You have to favorite the thing to the room. Once it's favorited, then you can add your favorite to the room. And so whatever you see in the app here is what you get on the remote as well. The Neos work the same way. So now, again, if I go to home, right, everything on this list is what the app is showing. And actually, I wonder if I can even do this in real time. So if I remove the fireplace, boom, it went away just that quick, right? So if I come back, I go to comfort, favorite to room, added to favorites. There it is. It's back on the remote, back on the bottom. So this is how you do it. So you have to be able to do this. And then of course, if I arrange it, I can drag them, drop them, move them around. As soon as I commit that, boom, fireplace went back onto the second row and it's down there. So this is the kind of stuff that I want to do in that kind of deep dive. It's been a while since we've done like a pull something up and really look at it. I think maybe since the Lumigen, we did the Kaleidescape, we've done the Apple TV. So I really want to do the Control4. And I'd like to do it with Dan because I really want to break down into different elements of programming and some of the new and like tweaky cool stuff that I have at work in the Control4 setup. I think people will dig that. Julie's asking, how much are your caps? Oh, the hats. Shoot, I don't remember. I think they're like umpteen dollars. Oh, that would have been uncomfortable. I should probably take that out before I wear it. I don't want to put it on because I'm almost kind of sweaty. But the store is reloaded with all kinds of new merch. I'm actually, the next thing I think I might order, I want to get some new gym tanks. So I'm gonna do the Techthusiasm ones. Might as well rep the brand while I'm pushing reps at the gym. All right. So otherwise, let's see. I'm gonna need to make a bunch of content this weekend. Get some stuff spun out. I want to definitely edit the with the audio of the fun pilot moment. Share that with everybody. I think that'll be a fun one. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the rest of the audio advice stuff. So if you were here for the live stream, you saw them all and you heard me talk about them. I might cut them into some other type of produced video. I might throw them on Instagram as just reels. We'll see. If you want to watch them some more for now, again, they are in the members area. I got a video coming for Friday talking about why you can't download movies in iTunes anymore. I get that question a lot lately. Like, I want to like back up my iTunes collection, or like, why don't I just download all my iTunes movies and put them on my NAS? Well, you really can't do that anymore. And I got some other video ideas and stuff that I'll be filming this weekend into next week. As I mentioned, some special guests for future live streams. Hopefully be able to get the one organized with Dan. I'd like to get on with some other fellow collaborators as well, other content creators, get back on with Brad and some other folks and just kind of hang out in these sessions coming up. Continue the road to 10K by Labor Day, hoping 9390 is the count right now. So I think there's a good chance. Got basically almost a month, almost a month, and I think we could get there. I'll throw it out there as well too. I still have infused codes, redemption codes that are good for a year of access to Infuse Pro. If you want to play with it, even if you just want to kind of explore and experiment, let me know. I've got some codes to share, so that I still have that giveaway open. And I'll have to work something up soon to give away the other decibel meter as well, the other Toptus meter that I have. I haven't done anything with that. I completely forgot this when I was talking about the. So if you stay to the end and you care about Anthem gear, so I've long wondered about Arc Genesis, and particularly some of the nuances of running Arc Genesis with an even number of seats, which is what I have essentially. So if I make a move to theater chairs, I'm probably looking at a row of 4. And basically, if you take my couch as it currently exists right now, right, let me get this up on a share. You take the couch as it currently exists right now, we have a row. Oh, the video is not a good one. We have a row of 4. Give me 1 second. Let me try to get to a good photo. And so I've always wondered, like, a lot of these measurement systems, they tell you, okay, you start with the microphone in the main listening position, and then you go around, and specifically if you follow the prompts in Arc Genesis, it tells you to like go up and behind, down in front, up and behind the other side, down in front the other side, and all of that. And that's fine to, I think, do that bubble if you're only really measuring the main listening position, right? And that's all you care about. However, when you've got other seats that you want to EQ, I've struggled a little bit trying to understand, like, does the system demand that the microphone positions are fixed to needing to do that bubble? And so, like, if I wanted to measure other seats, I have to go to 7 measurement points or 9. And then even if you go to 7 measurement points or 9 and you follow the prompts, you're going in different places. And so I went to the Anthem folks at Audio Advice Live, and I had a hallway conversation with one of their brand reps. And I asked them this question. I'm like, so here's my setup. I've got 4 seats, right? I'm usually sitting right here. And regardless of the couch or chairs, it's going to be the same deal. It's basically 4 big cushions as it is with the couch, but it would become 4 seats with dividers in between them if it were chairs. And so, should I be measuring right here, which is honestly what I've done in most cases. I put the microphone right here, pretty much where that cursor is. You can kind of see it moving around there in the middle as 0.1. And that's the point where all the delays are calculated against, the phase is calculated against. And then I go down, up, down, in whatever order it says. And then if I do 7 points, I kind of go over here, and then I go over here. And so I asked them, like, should I be doing it this way, or is there a better way to do it? And they basically told me, like, no, like, don't do it the way you're doing it. What you really want to do is wherever you're sitting, not the middle of the couch, not what would be the functional sweet spot, but the real sweet spot where you're sitting, that's position 1. So I should be measuring position 1 for the most discerning user in the room, because honestly, my wife and kids, unless the sound, unless the positioning of these chairs puts them in a place where the sound is like completely abhorrent, they're not going to really notice or the difference or whatnot. So no, you treat your spot, your seat, not the center, but your seat, as spot 1. And then after that, all of the prompts in Genesis are just like a guide. They're not deliberate, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter where the microphone is in any of the other positions. The system isn't really physically demanding that the microphone be down in front and then up and back and down in front and up and back and over here, over there. They're all just points. So pretty much what they recommended to do is, in a case like this where you do want to take into consideration all of the different chairs, if you did a 5-point measurement, you would do 1, you could come over here for 2, 3, and 4 at the basically the MLPs for all of the individual seats, and then just come back around to the number 1 seat and go down here or something like that for number 5. And if you wanted to do more, you wanted to do 7 or 9, you could bubble around this area a little bit more. So I found that to be kind of an epiphany of, wow, I'm really curious now to actually run the EQ that way and see what it ends up doing in the room. So I've got a future I think Arc Genesis run to make and kind of compare and contrast some of the measurement results and some of the performance results between the middle bubble versus this more focused positional measurement around the space. And I think the other thing that I'm planning to do as well coming up is I've never really directed the sound of any of the speakers in the space. Just by default, when I installed everything, I just left it pretty simple. Everything's firing straight out. Speakers overhead are firing straight down. And now that I know particularly that I should be measuring like my seat, this seat here as seat number 1, I think I'm going to use the directional functionality of each of these speakers and shoot them all a little more kind of point to this spot. So this speaker would have its tweeter and its mid range are like together in a bubble. Point them a little forward, kind of down at this spot, and same thing like for each of these. And then the ones overhead as well, the tweeters are on like a bit of a stalk, and so they can spin and they can twist. So you can direct them wherever you want. So I think I can probably even just use my laser measure tool and put it on the speaker and then shoot that laser kind of exactly, put a box or something here. I don't know, maybe a little box on a stand kind of representing where my head would be, and direct all of these speakers there in conjunction with the different arc measurement and see what falls out. So that's the kind of stuff as well. I completely missed talking about this in the earlier segment. I didn't have it in my notes, but it's really important. Because it's one thing to talk to other people and get direction. A lot of people are probably reading forums or watching a lot of videos, but sometimes it's really, really helpful to talk to the people at the company that make the thing you're using and be able to have a dialogue with them about, should I do this or shouldn't I do that, or how does this work, and whatnot. So being able to stand there and chat about this and kind of diagram it on the wall exactly what the setup was and take that recommendation, that kind of stuff is awesome. And it's something that going to these events, a benefit that going to these events affords you. I also talked to him a bit about some of the network troubles that I've been having with the Anthem gear, and he gave me some suggestions around like looking at firewall settings and port settings specifically. So it would be nice if both the STR and the AVM worked for updates and worked for the new app that they have coming, still in beta, and all of that without any trouble with the network connectivity. So another comment from Rob. I guess I got used to the iPad with the Harmony, have the mount on my theater chair, so definitely would use iPad over the remote more often. Yeah, seriously consider Control 4 now. Yep. Yeah, that's a good way to go too. There was quite a while where in the theater room, and you can see it actually, I think in some of my older pictures. I had an iPad mini that was like one of my wife's prior personal devices, and I left it down. Yeah, I think you can see it right here. Yep, there it is. I had a little stand for it, and I just left it down in the theater room. Excuse me. so that whenever I was down there, I could like grab it and do app control, touchpad control. Needed to like look something up, look up a movie rating, Common Sense Media, whatever. It was kind of handy having that in there. Um, it was also, I would say, also a little bit of a pain because it was the kind of thing where like it was used infrequently enough that every time I did go to use it, like it needed an update, or something also got in the way with it being always like bulletproof, ready to grab and ready to go. But especially if you have a theater chair and you have a stand and you could have that thing just kind of like Star Trek, you know, command and control chair sitting there with the tablet. It's pretty good. Pretty good way to go. We'll see if at some point I go back to that. There might be another iPad mini freeing up in the household. Well, maybe not. I don't know. There might be another iPad mini freeing up in the household before too long if another new model comes out. Basically, my wife gets the upgrade, and then the next one, hers will go to my daughter, and then that might open up the last one because I think it'll be a while yet before my other kid has a device with his own name on it. Especially given the fact that he just had the rights to the laptop taken away from him today. All right. Anything else? Any other questions, comments, suggestions? I think we're at 2 hours. My throat's feeling a little raw. I was doing a bunch. I went right from reading right into here. So my son and I, we finished the tome, full-size tome of the Avengers, 1963, issues 1 to 20. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Don Heck. That was a fun read. The impetus of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in that book right there. That was fun. We just started reading some of the foreword as well, which had some really cool, interesting backstory, history of like Marvel comics at the time. I'm still into my kick of comic book business history. I'm reading this book right now. I knocked a bunch of this out on the plane, back and forth to audio advice. It's basically an autobiography from the guy that produced, say, all of the contemporary Batman films from like Michael Keaton 1989 into the Nolan movies and stuff. So it's his memoir. It's pretty good. I'm just getting into the point where he's talking more about, or getting to the point in his life where he got connected in Hollywood as a representative of DC Comics and stuff. And so some interesting backstory behind the scenes talk about how movies come to be or came to be and all that. So I'm a nerd. It's all good. Sammy Prescott, you going to Cedia? I am not planning to go to Cedia. I can't tell you how many people last weekend asked me though, like, you going to Cedia? I don't know. Like, you really should go to Cedia. I would really like to. I think what I need to do to go to Cedia is I need to be able to monetize it. And Cedia, of course, is not a show like Audio Advice. It's a brand show. And I know that there's opportunities for folks like me to go to that show and get paid to cover stuff. Basically, do booth videos and that sort of thing, and actually make it a very lucrative endeavor. I think in order to do that, though, I think the channel numbers need to be a little deeper, and I just need to figure out how to go about making it happen, or if I could have like maybe certain specific brands that make sense to do so, like sponsor my Cedia attendance in exchange for coverage or videos or something like that. But I don't think I didn't plan for it. I plan to do one travel event for the channel this year because I want everything to get funded out of the channel, and so maybe next year there'll be like deeper revenue and some more opportunity. We already had the family vacation planned overlapping with M-Wave anyway. So it was a really easy choice as well to make of the three, M-Wave, Cedia, and Audio Advice, to make Audio Advice Live be the choice. I would very, very much like to go back to Audio Advice Live again. Going to 3 events in a year though. We'll see. There's got to be. I'll have to work that out. Thankfully, I have a year or so in which to try to figure it out and continue to grow. We'll see. We'll see where things are with everything a year from now. But it would be fun. The other thing too, if I were to go to Cedia, I would not have to. I would want to be turning it into a combined like getaway with my wife as well. So if my body's going to travel somewhere else in the remainder of this year, it's probably not a business trip with fun or whatever. We should go leave the kids at home and go somewhere like that. So and I got to work out all the vacation details from the day job and stuff also. So leaving leaving to travel for Techthusiasm means that I need to take off for the day job. And even though I got a pretty healthy stock of vacation accrual and whatnot, it's still all time. So long answer to a short question. But I don't expect to be there in the future, though. I would like to, and definitely find a way to make it, or structure a way to make it be very lucrative to go as well, or at least profitable versus an expense. All right. Anything else? Last call. Last call. Questions, comments, suggestions, feedback. Otherwise, yeah, content will be coming. Fun live streams coming up. Road to 10K. New merch in there. All that video stuff is available right now to members. Check out the IG. I tried throughout the show. I tried to cross post to Instagram and to YouTube community as I was taking pictures anywhere or everywhere that I went. But I do recommend, if you want to kind of get more out of from me as well, check out the Instagram along with the YouTube content. Cool. Sammy's off to play Baldur's Gate 3. Have a great night. Cool. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. Thank you to Julius. 2 thank yous to Julius and to Cheb Ruben for the super sticker. Super thanks. Very much appreciated. Awesome time. We had some friends of the channel, collaborator friends of the channel pop up. Always fun. We'll be back. So thanks so much for watching, and come on back for more home theater discussion and fun.